Okay, you guys can grab a seat because I'm going to start with a bit of a story. So probably none of you remember this, but it was 12 or 13 years ago, and it was in the summertime, and millions of people all at once all lost electricity. So in St. Catharines, all through Ontario, all through the United States, millions of people had absolutely no electricity. So they couldn't cook food, they couldn't, the food that was in freezers and stuff started to melt and to go bad, but you couldn't take it out and you couldn't cook with it. And you couldn't even buy gas to put in your car and go somewhere where there was electricity because they needed electricity in order to pump the gas. It was a big mess, and it was a couple of days, wasn't it, that most people had no electricity. Can you imagine? All of the things that we do with electricity, and everybody was without. Well, as it turned out, almost everybody in this area had no electricity, but just the way that the grid worked, there were a couple of places here and there that did have electricity. And lots of people pulled together and tried to help each other through this big disaster. Nobody knew what to do. Lots of people helped each other. But there were a few places that had electricity, like restaurants and gas stations that had electricity, and they said, well, this is an opportunity for me because I can charge whatever I want because everybody needs what I have. So there was one place that charged like $20 for a hamburger. Can you imagine? And there was somewhere else that like doubled the price in gas because they saw that everybody needed something and they had what they needed. They took it as an opportunity for them. So listening to today's parable, we hear something about taking advantage. We hear something about need. And we hear something about burdens. We're going to talk about burdens today. Do you know what a burden is? Does anybody know what a burden is? Is it a good thing? Do you know, Elijah? What's a burden?
It's kind of hard to explain. It's I don't know.
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to explain, but you guys kind of feel like it's not a great thing. A burden is not a great thing, right? Okay, so let's talk about how burdens are created. One of the ways that burdens are created is when, say, Katie needs something, and me, rather than helping Katie, I kind of make things worse for her and better for me. That creates a burden. When I see that somebody has a need, and I use that need so that I can get more, and she can get less. That's what creates a burden. So let's talk about a couple of specific types of burdens. I need 3 volunteers. Okay, Elijah and Cassidy and Owen. Okay, why don't the 3 of you stand over here? Okay, so let's talk about Elijah's burden first. I'm going to give Elijah a burden. It's pretty similar to the burden that I just talked about with that electricity problem. Okay, so let's say that Elijah really needs $100. You need $100, Elijah. Yeah. Okay, so what is it that you want $100 for?
I need to buy a new phone.
Oh, okay. I was thinking more like groceries. Okay, so Elijah thinks he needs a phone. I'm thinking maybe Elijah needs $100 to buy groceries to feed his family. And I'm going to say, well, Elijah, I see that you need $100. I have $100. I'm going to give you $100, but you have to pay me back $200. So that is a burden on Elijah. Now, Elijah, I hope that you have some muscles, because this is going to represent that burden of having to pay me back $200 when you are in need of groceries and phones. Okay, can you just hold that burden? So a burden is something heavy that you carry around. Okay, you're all right holding that burden? Okay, Cassidy, now I have a burden for you. Now, Cassidy has made a mistake, and she has upset me. And Cassidy realizes that she has upset me and that she's made a mistake, and so what might you do?
Buy you something nice.
Oh, I like that. She's going to buy me something nice. I was thinking that maybe Cassidy would say sorry and try to make things better. Gifts are good too. So I'm going to get Cassidy to say sorry to me, but then I'm never going to let her forget that she made a mistake. And I am going to remind her at every opportunity of that mistake that she made. So I see that she needs something. She needs my forgiveness. But instead, I'm just going to keep reminding her that she's in my debt. Are you okay holding that burden, Cassidy?
Yeah,
Oh, Gordon, okay, you're jumping ahead in the story, honey. Put the burden back on Cassidy. Okay, Owen, are you ready for your burden? Well, I bet that this is a burden that you guys know something about at school, because I think it's something that people talk about a lot. Bullying. That's right. Okay, so let's say that Owen just wants to fit in, and he wants to have some friends, and that's important to all of us, to have some friends and feel like people care about us. And I see that Owen needs a friend. And you know what? Maybe in my heart of hearts, I also have the same kind of worry as Owen. Maybe I really would like to fit in and have some friends and feel like people care about me. But instead of being a friend to Owen, I'm going to tease him. I'm going to not be nice to him. I'm going to try and make other people not like him as well. That's called, as Yuri said, that's called bullying. So instead of being a friend to Owen when he needs a friend, I am going to bully him instead. And what do I get out of that?
In trouble.
Well, I could get in trouble, yeah. But maybe somehow that makes me feel better because it makes him feel worse. Isn't that terrible? To make myself feel better by making him feel worse. So those are 3 burdens. Elijah and Cassidy and Owen have some burdens. Well, let's bring this into our parable for today. Are you guys still okay holding those burdens? Okay, can I get 2 other helpers? Okay, Katie and Yuri. Oh, Theo, you want to be a helper? Okay, you come and stand beside Katie. So in our parable today, we have a landowner who has a lot going for her. She has a lot of property, she has a lot of money, she has a lot of power. Katie, you've got it made. Theo, you work for Katie, okay? And Katie, maybe she had some luck to start with. Maybe she had some money. Maybe she had some power. Maybe she had some property. But then Theo, you help Katie get more and more and more money and power and property because you go around and look at people who they're in need, and you burden them with needing more. So maybe they need money. And so you say, okay, well, Katie has some money, but then you're going to have to pay back a whole bunch more money. And all of these people around you are in need and they are burdened. Katie's doing pretty well. Theo's doing pretty well helping Katie. But look at all of these burdens. Well, that's all fine and good for Katie and Theo until Katie says to Theo, "You're fired." So you no longer have Katie as your friend. She's not going to help you anymore. Do you think that these people who you've burdened, do you think that they're going to help you? They were in need, and you didn't help them. Now you're in need. Do you think that they're going to help you? What do you think? Okay, yeah, probably not. So Theo's in a little bit of an awkward position here because he's no longer friends with Katie, but he's not friends with these people either. So Theo is a smart guy, and he thinks, well, I'm just going to help get rid of some of these burdens. So you owe me all this money, or you owe Katie all this money, but let's just call it even, okay? So now Gordon's already started to take away these burdens. Theo, can you help Gordon take away the rest of the burdens? Here we go. Let's just put them down here. Let's put down all of these burdens. And I wonder, wow, good job, Theo. Thank you. So there are all of the burdens. Now I wonder, because Jesus told us this parable. So Jesus is trying to tell us something about God and about God's love and about how we're supposed to respond to God's love. What do you think Jesus wants with these burdens? Do you think Jesus wants us to have burdens of debt and guilt and bullying? Do you think that's what Jesus wants for us to be heavy with burdens? No, not at all. Jesus wants to take away our burdens. So I want everybody to grab one of these burdens and go put it in front of the altar. Just take one. So we can use our imagination, put them right beside the mystery box in front of the altar. We can use our imagination, and these heavy burdens represent all of the burdens that Jesus wants us to lay down before God. Because Jesus wants us to be light and to have freedom and not to be burdened. But here's another important question about burdens. Do you think that Jesus wants us to burden one another? No. What does Jesus want us to do with the burdens that other people are carrying? What does Jesus want us to do when we see somebody in need?
To be like Theo.
To be like Theo. Theo when he was helping Katie, or when he was helping the people with burdens? How does he want us to be like Theo?
To help take the burdens away from him.
Exactly. Owen, did you want to say anything else about that? So what are some of the ways that we help people who are in need and we help take away burdens? Do you see ways in which we do that here at the church, or maybe you do that at school? What do you do?
For like if there's people that are if there's homeless people that are hungry, you can give them food.
Wow, yeah, and we feed hungry people every single day here at St. George's. That's an amazing way of trying to help people in need and lift burdens. Okay, what else? What are some other things that we can do to help with burdens? Oh, you're just teasing. You don't really want to say something. What do you think? What about when you see somebody at school who needs a friend?
Go over and say hi.
Go over and say hi. What about when you see somebody at church who needs a friend?
Also go over and say hi.
Yeah, you can go over and say hi. What about when you have a fight with somebody and they say sorry? What might we do other than make them never forget that they made a mistake?
You can forgive them and try to be nice.
That's right. Okay, so there are all kinds of ways in which we can be like Jesus and we can be part of lifting people's burdens, that we can respond to people in need by helping them rather than burdening them. So let's have a prayer. God of love, thank you for sending Jesus to us to show us your way of freedom and compassion. Thank you for giving us the ability to be like Jesus and to care for one another in times of need, and to make this a world in which people can walk in freedom. Help us to be more like Jesus, to walk with Jesus every day. Amen. Now we're going to continue with some other parts of our worship service, with the creed, with the prayers, with the time of confession, but I'm going to ask you guys to just stay here because there's one other little piece that we haven't gotten to that